My number one movie that shaped my sense of joy is School of Rock from 2003. This is a film directed by Richard Linklater, a director who's come up a lot on the podcast, but now I'm bringing
Mhm.
forth a film from him. I know you've done it several times.
Yep.
The movie stars Jack Black, Mike White, Joan Cusack, and Miranda Cosgrove. The IMDb plot summary of this film: after being kicked out of his rock band, Dewey Finn becomes a substitute teacher of an uptight elementary private school, only to try and turn his class into a rock band. So this movie is joyous to me in a number of different ways. So I'll kind of get into those and we can dive more into the film. So first, it's just the joy of, this movie is about the joy of making music and coming together and putting on a performance, which is something that I've been involved in like a lot growing up. And I love movies and stories where it's like the let's put on a show plot line. I that gets me every time. And I love the end performances when they're then putting the show is on, and like it always
Same.
makes me smile and just makes me just feel great. So those are my favorite types of movies for joy for me, and this is a great encapsulation of that. There's also a theme in this movie too around breaking the rules and rebelling against conformity and the man, they say in this movie a lot. And there is, for me at least, joy in rebellion or in not following what you're supposed to do. If you want to do something, you're just going to go do it. And a lot of the theme in this movie is how Jack Black's character sort of teaches these kids who are all just about following the rules. And they're not happy. They're being told by their parents what to do, by their administrator, by formerly their teacher, and they don't have any joy in their lives. And Jack Black teaches them through the music of rock and roll, which, as he says, is all just about sticking it to the man, fighting power, and being rebellious, which is what the heart of that music genre is, unlocks joy in them, and they all find their place in the rock band, but also just in their lives, and they find their passions and things, because it's not just about conforming to what society tells you to do. And that is something, again, that brings me a lot of joy as well. And then too, and I'll get more into this at the when we kind of dive more to the film, is just how finding your passion in life and bringing that passion to others and teaching them about it just brings you so much joy. I mean, Jack Black's character, one of the reasons why I love this movie and works so well, is he has a very defined character arc, and he discovers in him, through a lot of the things that the story uses as exemplifiers of his character arc, but finds the passion that he has, which is to teach and to work with others instead of think that he's the star of his own movie and he's a lead singer of everybody. Everything's about him, and he realizes it's actually not about him. It's really about what he can give and share to other people, and that also brings me joy a lot too, when I'm able to share my passions with others and inspire others to do things, whether it's music or things in work environment, whatever it is. I've never been a professional teacher, but I do enjoy the opportunities when I've been able to do that, whether it's mentoring or tutoring and things like that over my life. And there is a joy in seeing you pass that passion and knowledge on to others. And they just do a fantastic job in this movie with his character arc, which I'll get into a little more later around what Jack Black's able to pull off. So this is one of my favorite movies of all time. I saw it when it first came out. I was a big Jack Black fan, and just blew me away. And still to this day, like, it makes me smile every time I even think of it, this movie. So it brings me a lot of joy. Have you seen this movie before? And what are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I feel like this is a fun episode where we had not seen each other's movies in the past. And this is,
Uh-huh.
again, one of them, which I'm actually shameful to admit because I love all Linklater movies. And I
Mm-hmm.
think I just ignored this movie because I felt from the trailer and the poster what has become the Jack Black energy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which
Mm-hmm.
you kind of have to be in the mood for. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is just going to be so over the top. And I didn't watch it when it came out. So you sort of missed the boat a little bit.
Mm.
It was so fun to watch this movie and sort of go back to where Jack Black energy comes from, actually. Like, this is where it started, it seems, right? Or was he doing this thing before?
Yeah, this was his definite, like, this is
Defining.
his energy. And I
Right.
think, and we can talk more about it too, because I think this is the movie that captures it and uses it in the best way, in the
The
most
best way.
effective way, and any way that he's been used. And I
Yeah.
think it has a lot to do with Richard, which we'll get into in a bit.
Yeah.
So yeah. So it worked for you, like, hit the Jack
It
Black
totally
performance.
worked. It was so well done for all the things you called out, music and sharing and mentorship. But what I also love is, which is again, it's Linklater, right? So a movie like this in a lesser known director or writer's hands would be very prototypical. People would be painted in sort of glorious black and white
Mm-hmm.
light, which to me is never a good sign because it's not real. People aren't like that. So you see all the sides where Jack Black is quite annoying. He is
Yes.
destructive to
Mm-hmm.
himself and people around him. And it's not just Mike White and Sarah Silverman who are there, his friends, who can be viewed as, quote unquote, annoying, but they're also trying to get by life,
Mm-hmm.
and Jack Black is not helping at all. Like he's just like squatting in their place and is pretty destructive to his friends and his life and is very self-centered. He's kind of a schlub, doesn't
He
put in the
is.
work,
Mm-hmm.
wants stuff handed over to him. And you need that for like you said, his arc to kind of really flow through the movie. But for us to kind of believe in all this, right? Like this is not some glorious tale of somebody who came and saved the day. Like this is
Mm-hmm.
somebody who is finding himself as the movie goes on. So I love that. Number two, all the kids in the movie are amazing, just at from a performance standpoint, but also how much depth and character they're given in like little scenes. Like everybody
Mm-hmm.
has their own thing. They come from different background. Like today, if this movie was made, I kept thinking this movie in a way is ahead of its time, if you will, because it's a very racially diverse group of kids,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
but it's not underlined in like a phony kind of way that, oh, we have like a racially diverse set of kids and
Right.
everybody is perfect because they're from so and so background. No, they're just kids
Mm-hmm.
and they come from everywhere and they
Mm-hmm.
all have their hangups, they all have their annoyances and what have you, and they all have to be pushed in certain ways, but they're also gifted in certain ways. So it just doesn't even go there and kind of overcomplicate things in that sense. It's just very simple. They're just kids, and I love that. And then I think the last thing I would say is that Joan Cusack was always amazing in
He's
everything.
great. Yeah.
Her and Jack Black's chemistry, and also her as kind of the marker of the quote unquote prim and proper right way to do things,
The
is
man. Yeah.
great because
Yeah.
she's also human, like she's also just following the rules and doing her best, but there is like a wilder side to her, and at the end of the movie she's cheering for the kids as well. And I love what an odd couple and chemistry they have in the few scenes that they share. There's like a light flirtation, there's
Mm-hmm.
a light seeing each other for who they are. Like it's just so well written and beautifully performed, and the music is great, and you're rooting for everybody by the end of it. So it's a perfect number one, Alex. I love it.
Oh, thanks. I mean, I just love this movie, and I'm surprised just with your fan of being such a fan of Richard that you hadn't kind
Yeah.
of come to this. But I think this is, in my mind, is my favorite movie of his by a country mile, and it's just interesting that he's able to take a lot of his sensibilities, especially on the direction, into making this movie work. And I think, again, just talking about Jack Black's performance, he has a lot of passion and energy, and I think joy too, in anything that he does. But a lot of times it's almost too much, and
And it's
movies don't know how
misguided.
to contain him or direct this
Yeah.
energy. And what I think that they do so brilliantly in this movie is a lot of these parts where Jack is just unleashing his energy is just a single shot, and the camera's not doing anything. You're just letting him operate in this environment. They're not adding any editing into it, cutting around his energy. Just he's there, just doing his Jack Black thing. Whereas maybe the camera's slowly panning back. There's a scene where he is telling the kids what the song that he had wrote about, that he wants the band to perform. It's all about himself, and this is before he completes his arc. And he's there, sort of like singing the song and doing his scat singing. It's
Yeah.
like he's like doing all that, and all the
Yeah.
camera is just one shot and just slowly pulling back because it's Richard knows, like, look, this guy has so much energy. He's gonna fill the frame. I'm not gonna do anything here. I'm just gonna let him go. And there's another great scene, which is one of my favorite ones too, where he's teaching the kids. Eventually, they're doing like Smoke on the Water, and he's teaching them each of their parts. And again, the camera just slowly moving around as he's doing this, and they're not like create the humor or the energy through anything filmic techniques. They're just letting Jack do all of that because he has so much energy. They don't want to contain that, right? And I think that is just so brilliant, and that's why I think Jack works so well in this movie, because they let
Mhm.
Jack be Jack, not try to change, what his natural energy is, which is just this. I mean, I've been following him since High Fidelity. We talked about that movie before. And then he's
Right.
also in a band, Tenacious D, that I was obsessed with in college. And it's the same crazy, like he, does these like overly exaggerated, guitar solos and moves and is like very crazy songs and gets all this energy. And I love that about him, but it's hard to kind of make that work in a mainstream film. And I think Richard does that so well, and just how he captures Jack Black's energy. And it's so great.
I totally agree. And there's nuance in that where the movie knows that this guy is kind of a joke, but at the same time doesn't judge him for it, Like there is kind of a love and adoration for who this person is, just the way he is, which sort of is the message of the movie too, because Jack Black, he also takes each of these kids at face value. I love
Right.
every interaction that he has with the kids to kind of bring him out of their shells. Like the Asian guy who's sort of such a heartbreaking thing he says that, no one talks to me, I have no friends and
Yeah.
such. But he's like, no, you're the man,
Right.
you're amazing at what you do. Same goes for the black girl who, it's hilarious. She's like, she's like, I don't want to do this. She's like, what do you want to do? Security?
Right.
But
Yeah.
she's
Because
sort of a
she's like
bigger
bigger. Yeah.
girl.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And she's like, no, I want to sing. And then she like belts out this whole Aretha song. And it's
Yeah.
like absolutely incredible. And the way it's captured and the way you see the brilliance of these kids and the dimensions of these kids through Jack Black, that's sort of the winning power of the movie. And
Definitely.
it's just so pure, the reactions that you're getting from him. But at the same time, like you said earlier, he's no saint either, because
No.
as the band starts to get together, he's like, oh, I'm going to use this to get my thing, my
Mm-hmm.
own song. So
Mm-hmm.
it takes a lot for him to get to a place where he's like, no, actually, the little kid, he's going to do the lead song and it's going to be his song,
Right.
not one of my songs.
Mm-hmm.
And I love seeing the parents, the crowd as well, who are so proud of their kids. They didn't even realize that their kids were so talented and such. So no one is a bad person actually, because by and large, maybe I have like a optimistic in my dotage point of view that people are just, slaves to kind of whatever thing they're trying to do.
Yeah.
And sometimes they just have to be shaken up a little bit to see beyond the horizon, if you will. And this movie does that in a very non-preachy, fun, real, grounded kind of way.
Definitely. And this is another movie trope of a conformed society where a crazy, like, so off the wall character comes in and shakes it up so everyone can, which is also
Right.
a plot that I love. And that
Yeah,
is
I
about
love that.
those characters come in and they bring joy by bucking conformity and expectation. It's like, look, you do what you want to do. And the other thing that I think this movie does so well too is, yes, it's School of Rock and it's a band and they sing a song and they put on a performance at the end. But there's a great sequence in the film too when he chooses all the, okay, you play bass, you're going to be the lead guitar, and then the rest, it's only like 6 members of the band. So the rest of the class, like, well, what are we going to do? Like, we're going to be the audience? It's like, no, you're going to be the lighting guy, you're security, you're the manager, you're the costumes. And and they don't, he doesn't do that just as I'm going to give you busy work.
They're
It's
all
showing
important.
everyone come together. And I love too, at the end of the movie, during the performance sequence at the Battle of the Bands, you see it cuts to like the guy on the computer. He's doing his laser show and they're putting the smoke on there, like, the manager and the security. And like, you really see that this really does take a village. It's not just about the band, it's about everyone, and everyone finds their place in this performance. And one job is no lesser than the other. And I love that too. It really brings everyone together in that solidarity. And just one other note that I love, that I really noticed over the years and watch this film, I've seen this plenty of times, is how they really do a great job visually of kind of nailing Jack Black's character arc. And at the very beginning of the movie, he's with his band and they're performing, and Jack Black is thinking that he's the star of the show. He's overly, theatrical. And then he does a stage dive and no one catches him and he plants himself on the ground. It's like, this is not working. At the end of the movie, he's performing a song written by somebody else. Yes, he's the lead guitarist and he's singing some of the vocals, but it's entire band, and he does a stage dive and he's caught. And it just shows that now that he's able to remove his ego from it, and he finds the joy in sharing his passion with others by inspiring them instead of sort of shoving down his performance down their throats. It's such a wonderful kind of a visual representation of how far this character's come from the beginning of the movie to the end. It sort of like starts and ends with a stage dive, and he's carried by the crowd. And I just love that moment too. It's like he's found his place, which is there's a lot of joy in that too. He's able to find what he's supposed to do, which is to be to be a teacher. And I also love too so much the end of the movie during the credits, which is another thing I just love when they do, credits over like a performance in movies.
Right.
And it's just Jack Black there with the kids doing this great AC/DC song. And you can tell it's not acting from anyone.
No,
like
it's
they're just
real.
hanging out. Jack's having a good time. The kids are singing. He's like, oh, do the solo here. And the kids are, because they all can actually play. They found incredible actors who can do all these parts. And you can see the sense of joy just in the fact that these actors just loved hanging out together. And there was a real connection and camaraderie there. It wasn't just they're acting the parts. They really love singing and love performing and love rock. And I love that end credits. Sometimes I just watch that on YouTube of them just kind of jamming out. It's so awesome. It's so infectious.
So cool. And I guess I was going to say, as you were saying that, is that it's kind of meta in that sense that movie sets can also be this way, right?
Yeah.
That it's people come in having fun and not, I mean, I don't know Linklater personally, but that's the kind of guy he feels like. He's kind of a mensch, right? Like he's this mentor and brings people together and discovers young talent, but is not like authoritarian and preachy, lets everyone breathe and find what their unique thing is and advises them, in a way that feels authentic to them, but doesn't push them.
Right.
There are no like mind games and tricks happening to bring out, the weird best in people, whatever. No, it just feels like a very happy, organic environment where people get to discover and shine. And if it's meant to be, it will be, you know? And it's so great. That school, no pun intended, has paid off with all these amazing actors and actresses that have come through the Richard Linklater School of Rock.
Yeah. I mean, some of these actors are now, Miranda Cosgrove is a huge star now because, she was, I don't know if she was discovered in this film or not, but she does a great job in this performance. But yeah, I think it is a lot to, like I said, Richard Linklater. And I think the Richard Linklater plus it's Richard Linklater more laid back, kind of let things happen, and the Jack Black energy, I think it's just a winning combination that Jack has never been better in a movie. Maybe High Fidelity, but that's a very specific under co-starring role. But this is just his crown achievement as an actor. Totally. Love it. I'm glad you're finally able to rock out to the School of Rock. Hey there, it's Alex. If you like the review and discussion Karan and I just had, make sure you subscribe to our channel, Movies That Shaped Us, to get full episodes. Every other Wednesday, Karan and I cover a topic around important people, places, events, and moments in our lives, and then explore it through 3 of our favorite movies. Subscribe right now, or follow our podcast on Spotify or Apple Podcasts via the link in the description below. Hope you join us for the journey.